dum diddy dum diddy dum.
Hello and welcome to the Analyst Inside Cricket in association with LV Insurance, who are the sponsors, of course, of this Test series, England against India. And today was a tantalising fourth day at Lord's, with the match intriguingly poised, actually, with bad light just bringing the game to a premature close, with India 181 for 6, 154 ahead. And, well, everybody's going to be asking Simon, firstly, who do you think are favourites? Before we go to the what with the who's winning graphic, who's favourites in your book?
I'm going England, India, tie, draw.
A tie? Interesting.
Wow.
Yes.
Perhaps it's more likely to be a tie than a draw. I mean, you could see a situation where it could be a draw, but I mean, I don't think it will be now. And the only scenario I can see in which it will be a draw is if India get loads of runs in the morning session. If they extend their first innings lead, and to do that, Pant would have to have lots of support from the tails. That's the only way I can see a draw. In India, get 260, 280 ahead, something like that, and then just there's enough time for England, and perhaps it is a few wickets, and they have to bat out the game. But apart from that, I think that one side or other will win the game, or it will be a tie. So that's the logic on the tie. Very unlikely to be a tie. Perhaps slightly more unlikely to be a draw. I mean, I say that slightly, tongue in cheek. Of course, it could be a draw, but I think it's going to be either England or India. And I think England are in a better position than India at the moment. But you can definitely see a scenario where India could win this test match.
So this match has toyed with our predictions constantly. And let's have a look at the who's winning graphic right at this moment. And actually the jagged lines showing each team's fortunes plummeting and rising again are indicative of why our predictions have been a bit haywire. So at the end of today's play, well, at the beginning of today's play, England were certainly in probably the most favourites to win, 50%. The draw was sort of 25, and India were about 23 or something like that. And then we had England sort of plummeting, their optimism plummeting with that partnership of however many it was between Pujara and Rahane, and really grinding it out.
149 overs.
Yeah, wow, amazing. So England's hopes gradually extinguishing and India's hopes rising during that partnership. And then suddenly those 3 wickets late on, 2 to Moeen Ali, and suddenly England's prospects have climbed back up to almost 50% again, and India's around about 25. With the draw also, reasonably positive as well. The graphic actually showing the wrong line there, but it's about 25% positive potential for a draw as well. But England definitely favourites.
Yeah, that draw looks very high on your who's winning.
No, it's wrong. That's why, because the line hasn't quite completed.
The line, you
need
have
to
finish the
complete
line
it.
off. Yeah, the line. Okay, the line needs to go down a bit. Yeah, and actually, at one stage today, the draw did look the favourite, didn't it? And when that partnership was developing between Rahane and Pujara, you could see India just batting time, and they almost took a session out of the match in that middle period. And you could think, well, yeah, this is where the game's heading. But then you can change a test match very quickly with the ball, and that's what England did today. I mean, one thought struck me, big crowd at Lord's today, a vociferous crowd as well, lots of India support. I sort of had that feeling that people came to watch Rohit, Kohli and Pant, and they ended up watching Rahane and Pujara block it for whatever it was, 49 overs. But I mean, they did a valuable job for their side. India were in a terrible position. I mean, it's a huge wicket to get rid of Virat Kohli, 55 for 3. And you could almost see a scenario then where the game could have ended today. If England picked up 2 more quick wickets, you think, well, it might all just go down in the heap with India's long tail. But they showed great grit and determination. It wasn't thrilling cricket, not by any means, in one sense, but it was. There was a constant fascination because of what they were trying to do, and they were sort of inching forward. It was a little bit like watching grass grow at some points in that partnership. But in a way, it was must needs, and both under pressure, both struggling for runs. England really testing them, and they were just resisting until finally later in the day that resistance was broken, and England got right back in the game again.
2 little points about that partnership, actually. I think one was, I was really interested to see how the crowd responded to it, because the Lord's crowd is a generally a pretty well-educated crowd, and they were really sensitive to Pujara's struggles, and they understood what England's tactics were, which was, to basically bounce the crap out of him for a lot of the time, and with very close set field leg gullies and short legs and so on. And he bravely resisted it. And, there was the crowd urging Mark Wood on, and then actually cheering Pujara when he managed to get singles. I think he got his first run. Was it off about his 40th ball or something?
No,
and then
it was in the 30s. It was a bit earlier than that. Yeah, so I think something like his 34th or 35th.
I mean, there was a sort of raucous cheer, like he'd gone to 50, wasn't it? Or 100 even. I mean, yeah. So that was one thing. I really liked the way the crowd, although even the impartials and possibly the England fans could sort of sense their determination and grit. So though they wanted England to take wickets, they could also appreciate the resilience of the Indians. And then the second thing to say about it is that we were sat, me and my partner and a couple of other people were sat rather, luxuriously in the MCC president's box, watching this partnership in the afternoon, which wasn't going anywhere for England anyway. And so eventually, after tea, we thought, well, better change tack here and move location. A bit like, players in the dressing room who, when something's going well, they don't shift. They stay in one position, especially in tense moments. Well, we thought to change it, we need to move. So we moved into the stand, the new Compton stand, and sat amongst the boisterous fans there. Immediately 3 wickets fell. So it really worked. A treat for England, shifting our position. And actually, I think Moeen is a sort of minor star of the day. Firstly, for that brilliant catch he took off Virat Kohli, off Rohit Sharma with that pull shot, when they placed exactly a couple of men for that pull shot. And although it was a sliding catch at deep square leg that a professional cricketer should take, the situation with Rohit Sharma looking really dominant, having already hooked Wood for 6, and also the pressure of the moment, getting that big wicket and having to run towards the ball, which was hit firmly, and slide underneath it. So there was Moeen's momentum towards the ball, creating more impact. It was quite a hard catch to take. He took it beautifully, and that was an important moment. And then it took a couple of wickets as well, with one to Jadeja, which was a classic delivery, which, someone like Ravichandran Ashwin would have been very proud of.
Yeah, and I suppose one of the things you'd say about the Jadeja dismissal is that gives India some optimism for the final day, but also that feeling if only they had Ashwin in their lineup. And it's not spinning. It's not spinning so much that's impossible for batting out. They're not by any means, but there's enough happening for the slower bowlers that you think, well, if they did have the 2 spinners in the end, then it could be quite tricky for England in the final innings. As it is, they've just got Ravi Jadeja, who might try and wreak his revenge tomorrow for getting that good ball from Moeen Ali. One thing to note about England's bowling today, of course, is in the first innings, it was all about Robinson and Anderson. And today they went wicketless. And it was about the backup bowlers, the other bowlers who helped England push towards victory. There was Moeen Ali, and Mark Wood, and there was Sam Curran. They all played huge parts today for England with the ball, not least Mark Wood. I mean, Mark Wood was the one that got it going. He came on early. Root took Robinson off after 2 overs. Wood got into action, and he picked up those 2 wickets. And of course, that's one thing England haven't done so far in the series until today, and that is knock over the openers early on. And that's been the reason why India have had some measure of control so far in the series, is because the openers have been able to progress and resist England's new ball bowling. But not today. Wood for those early wickets, the very good catch by Moeen Ali, and the delivery that got rid of KL Rahul as well. And then Wood against Pujara. I mean, Pujara was, he looked as though he could bat forever, not score particularly quickly, but would bat forever. And Wood got him out with an absolute brute. So there is something in this pitch. I mean, there's something to encourage India on the final day. Are they going to score enough runs? Have they got enough runs? I mean, that's the big question. 154 is a bit skinny at the moment, but with Pant there, you never quite know what can happen. But of course, Yoz, England have got the new ball in the morning.
It's worth remembering that cricket is truly a game for everyone and has at times also been a force for good. A reminder of this comes from the latest Funds for Runs project profiled today. Hertfordshire Cricket, in partnership with Stevenage Cricket Club, will be using their grant from LV Insurance and ECB's £1 million Fund for Runs community initiative to support some of the most vulnerable people within our society. They'll be using the grant to launch a regional hub that will focus on girls' cricket, but also on delivering street cricket sessions for unaccompanied or unattached asylum seeker children in the county. That's a brilliant initiative by LV Insurance, who are really exceeding themselves in some of these ideal and very clever campaigns. One problem that England may have is that they haven't got Mark Wood to bowl. And he, after having really put in a tremendous effort with the ball, and I thought actually that his run was getting longer and longer as the day wore on. And certainly I was really expectant when Pant came in and you thought, right, Wood's ready now for another assault on the Indian lower order. And Pant's going to try and take him on, you know, potentially very exciting. And suddenly he dived to stop a ball on the boundary and injured his shoulder. And dear, another injury for an England fast bowler they can ill afford. Let's hope it's not too serious, but you know, shoulder, your right shoulder, it's a sensitive area. You know, you're bowling at 93 miles an hour. You need that shoulder to be 100%. So that worries me slightly.
Yeah, I mean, he did come back on. He did come back onto the field, and then it looked to me, just reading from a distance, it looked to me that when the umpire said, "Look, you won't be able to take the new ball because the light is so bad," they thought, "Well, there's no point Wood being on the field." So that I think that's how I read it. And so in the morning they can bowl Anderson and they can bowl Robinson to start with Wood back on the field, and then he'll sort of serve his time for being off the field. So I mean, it didn't look great to start with, but it didn't look terrible. So yeah, I mean, for England, it really is fingers crossed, isn't it? Not necessarily so much for tomorrow, because they might need Wood to clean out the last 2 or 3, but going forward, rest of the series, it's a long way before the Ashes. But England have dropped a few bowlers already. They don't want to be dropping any more, especially that it's all the fast bowlers, the nasty fasters that seem to be going down, Archer and Stone and then Wood. But we probably won't know fully until the morning how he took the ball. You sleep on it, you see how it is in the morning, how stiff it is, what they can do with it. But I think it's a bit of a fingers crossed. But it didn't look awful. But it didn't look, initially didn't look great. So I know the physio looked at him and he did come back onto the field. That's the one thing I would say.
Well, Wood, if he gets on the field again tomorrow and comes running in as normal, he'll win tomorrow's In With Heart award for sure. Today, I think we give it to Cheteshwar Pujara because he was under so much pressure, wasn't he? He's had a struggle or two in recent times. He battled against the Australians in that 4-test series and was pretty much a punch bag during that test series, especially the last test, where he just basically took blows on the body for the team and was incredibly brave, but you couldn't see how he was going to get a run. And he's failed in the first test of this series, and then failed in the first innings as well. So he was massively under pressure. And I don't know how you managed to bat for nearly 40 balls without scoring a run. And then finally get off the mark. The field was pretty close as well, the tight set field, catches and everything. So there were plenty of gaps, but he was just becalmed totally. But he got through, and he swayed out of the way of the vicious bounces from Wood and fended a few off. And I mean, just the bravery and guts of the guy. The In With Heart award times 10 today. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was a struggle. But also the other thing as well is that feeling of when the crowd are. I mean, there was the crowd were with him, the Intersport were with him, but there was a sort of what they call ironic cheers as well. When he was, when he got to 100 balls, when he got to 200 balls, there was a sort of a Mickey taking element to it as well. You don't normally. You cheer for 100. You don't normally cheer for a batter surviving for 100 balls or 200 balls. Eventually, they 45 from 206 balls. So there's an element in which I don't know whether he felt he was being slightly mocked as well. I mean, there was a sort of cheerfulness about it, but there's also that sort of slightly mocking element to it, and you have to sort of put that out of your mind completely, which is what he did. And of course, he's used to playing in that way. He has been. He's a batter who has spent a lot of his career scoring relatively slowly and absorbing balls and building his innings. And I think one of the things that suited him today was the fact that he didn't have to score quickly. There was no pressure to score quickly. It was about staying in, being rock-like, extending the innings, taking time out of the game, seeing where you got to eventually. So in a way, it sort of suited the run of form he was in, but you still need tremendous skill and guts to survive, and that's what he was able to do. And it did take, as I said, it did take a fantastic delivery from Mark Wood to dismiss it. We've got most players out of that. It was an unplayable delivery. It came from nowhere really, just when England needed it.
Anderson wicketless today, but I was just watching his first spell. 8 overs, I think. It might even have been 9 overs.
8 overs. Yeah.
And he was up to 87 miles an hour. He was getting the ball to fly through almost head high at times. Keeper was taking it above his head. Then he was diving around in the field. He was at cover for quite a lot of the second session and made some brilliant stops. Getting down quickly to his right or left. I mean, his biomechanics are extraordinary. I mean, he's sort of almost sort of inhuman. His athleticism at that age.
Inhuman, superhuman, surely.
Superhuman. All right. Either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I thought we decided, Yoz, that we'd run out of superlatives.
Bionic.
Yeah, until he pulls a hamstring tomorrow or something like that, then we'll have to reassess. But yeah, well, it's been a brilliant test match. There were times today when it was quite slow and it felt as though it was inching towards a draw and you wonder where it was going. But it's been toing and froing throughout the game. I said yesterday that if we get to the end of the 4th day and all 4 results are still possible, then we're in for a tremendous final day, and that's what we are in for. Because it might be that they get rolled over in the morning, England knock them off for 2 or 3 down, but you sense
surely not. I mean,
you sense there are 2 or 3 more twists left in this match. I don't think it would be straightforward for England on the final day. But we thought that India had the better of it at Trent Bridge, and what do they need? 157 with 9 wickets left. We're not in that dissimilar territory. It might be very similar run chases for the team batting last. Up to 209 in India needed last week. India 154 ahead, and there's the Rishabh Pant factor as far as England are concerned. So he's that one stumbling block. But is it going to be a lot on him tomorrow because he's batting with the 4 number 11s?
Yeah, so that's the thing tomorrow. England somehow have to keep Pant off strike, but that's no easy thing. He's a bit mercurial. So it's exciting. The weather forecast looks decent. I think the pitch is decent compared to Trent Bridge, where there was plenty of help in that surface. I think here, when the ball gets a little older, it's not too bad to bat. You can certainly stay in. So, and India, because they've only got 1 spinner as well. So I still think England are favourites, but they've got to get that final wicket or 2 first, obviously.
One thing we haven't talked about yet, Yoz, is Virat Kohli. Last 10 test matches, averaging in the low 20s, out for 20 today. And Sam Curran was the man that got him. What a celebration. Have you ever celebrated like that? Like that, Yoz?
No,
you're
definitely not.
So knackered when you get the ball down to the other end. You've barely got the puff to run. But he was off out towards, where was he going? Out towards deep backwards square leg to celebrate. Big moment for him. First wicket in the series and first real contribution in the match as well, after no wickets in the first innings and a dart. Kohli sort of pushing out a ball he didn't really need to play out.
He did. I watched the ball carefully and it actually just started to angle in a bit. It started to swing in and then just held its line down the slope. So the bowler does deserve a bit of credit. It wasn't a ball he needed to play at and it was a bit of a loose shot, but the ball just hinted at in swing first and then went down the slope. So it was a decent delivery. Kohli, at the moment just hasn't found his fluency, has he? He's being calmed and very disciplined bowling by England have stopped him scoring. I'm sure he must be inspired by seeing the way Root batted, but at the moment he's not quite there. His rhythm isn't quite there. The bowlers have got on top of him. That started in the World Test Championship final, in fact, didn't it? Where he battled in both innings to get runs against New Zealand and didn't ever really make a big impact. And still that's the case.
yeah, there was a big gap open on the offside. So whether he was, there was a deep cover in. So whether he likes to score, he likes to play the ball, he likes to feel the ball on bat. So whether he was just looking to push that single, there was a lot of chat going on out there as well. Something that Mark Ramprakash noticed and pointed out. Ollie Robinson was in Kohli's ear, and actually as Kohli walked off, he ran past him as well. So that there was that, and also Curran got one to come back into him. So sometimes you know what it's like. You're forced to play at a ball you don't mean to because you wonder whether the ball's going to come back in. You mentioned it was perhaps just shaping back in. Anyway, it felt like a big wicket. It felt like that could be game, set, match really as far as England concerned. 5-3, very small lead early in the day. Bags of time left in the game, but thanks to Pujara and Rahane, we have got a game tomorrow. One thing you haven't done, Giles, you haven't given your prediction for tomorrow. We've seen the who's winning graphic, and I said I think England, India, tie, draw. What do you think tomorrow? Do you
England win. England win.
Yeah.
England win. I do. I think they might get 200 lead. I think we can get that. I wouldn't be like to be chasing 250, but I think anything between 180 and 230, England will get. I think the pitch is good. There's enough batting, and India have only got one spinner, so I'm confident England will win. And the weather forecast is decent as well. It's not raining and sort of too seam friendly. So I think I back our who's winning graphic tonight. We'll see what happens anyway in the morning, and we'll report back. I can't wait for the first half hour's play. Actually, that's when I think probably the game will be decided. So we'll be reporting back on that tomorrow night. Very exciting.
Yeah, great final day in prospect. Come and join us tomorrow to review the Test match. Been a great game. Let's hope we get a thrilling finish. Goodbye for now.
Dum diddy dum diddy dum.